What's the outlook and strategy? Ambareesh Baliga, Managing Partner for Global Wealth Management at Edelweiss Financial Services, joining us this morning. Ambareesh, start of a fresh new week after the kind of gains that we saw last week. What's your strategy?
Clearly, I think this momentum will continue for a while. Clearly, the market is cheering the announcements which came from Raghuram Rajan, and there are expectations that there could be something positive in the monetary policy going ahead on the 20th. But still, if you overall look at the economy, I think the problems are still there. I don't think things will change overnight. Structural issues are still there, which I don't think RBI can manage to overcome that. So keeping that in mind, I would be a bit cautious. Surely utilize this momentum, which I think will continue for a while longer, because the hopes are still there. I think, if the market goes up some more from here, which clearly it should, maybe possible.
All right, we'll just try and get that link going back with you, but Ambareesh very clearly saying that it seems to be a cautious environment as far as markets are concerned right now. You're just laying out a strategy and advice. We'll try and reconnect with him there, but looking at the way, it's an interesting point Ambareesh actually spoke about on the other, because if you pull out the kind of performance markets have actually seen the last 2 weeks itself, for the September series, it's probably been one of the smart pullbacks that the markets have been awaiting, because remember, June, July, August, all three of them were on the weaker side, predominantly on the back of the way flows panned out. Come September, that's the other interesting part. We've managed to actually hold on as far as flows action are concerned. You haven't seen much sell-off. Ambareesh, I guess we have you back with us. Sorry, the link actually got disconnected there. You're putting a point across as to what the advice is right now. Please go ahead.
Absolutely. So since the structural issues are still there in the economy, which I don't think RBI can actually mend that, because that's what the government has to do and not RBI. And I don't see that being addressed in the near future, looking at elections around the corner. I would be slightly cautious, would possibly utilize this up move, which I think can last for another 100-150 points more from here. Utilize that to lighten up to a certain extent, because clearly the pain is still there in the economy. And overall, I suppose you should get lower levels to buy back your portfolio at lower levels. So at these levels, slightly higher levels, I'll surely utilize it to book out to a certain extent.
Ambareesh, morning. What's happening on the fund flow side? We've seen quite a bit of FIs coming in last week. Is it because we saw a very significant chunk going out, or is there a sentiment turnaround which is taking place there?
Surely there is some short-term sentiment, turnaround, no doubt, but I don't think it is more of the long-term money coming in, because, unless that visibility is there, I don't see the long-term money, moving in a hurry. And like I said, since elections are around the corner, you don't know what sort of a government would be formed, how strong the government would be. Without, knowing that, I don't really see long-term money coming in a hurry. So the way I see it is, whatever money has come in could be short-term, hot money, which is just coming from momentum. So I don't think one should really read too much into it.
Ambareesh, what do you do with the banks now? You got a decent, smart pullback over the last couple of days. Is it giving you any confidence to probably pump in more?
Not really, because I suppose the ground level issues are still there. You have the NPAs, which could be a problem going ahead. We expect the NPAs to increase from here, especially for the PSU banks. So I think over the next 2 or 3 quarters, you will see the NPAs increasing. I think that that should really put pressure on the banks going ahead. At the same time, unless the economy really improves, you don't expect the credit growth to keep pace. So keeping both these in mind, I would surely utilize this upside which we got in the banks. It's been a smart upside which we saw in the past couple of days. Utilize that to exit to a certain extent.
What about the entire oil and gas pack then, Ambareesh? Any specific stocks there? What's your outlook when it comes to an ONGC or an RIA?
Oil and gas, I think one can be slightly more positive at this point of time, looking at the sort of a crack which you have seen in most of the OMCs. Again, I don't see the oil really shooting up from here, even if the Syria issue blows out. Possibly you could see a bump up in oil prices, which could be a knee-jerk reaction, but I don't think that will last too long. At the same time, I think as of now, since the rupee has also started appreciating, but that has still not been captured in the OMC stock prices, which really haven't bumped up from the lower levels. So I think that's one space where one can possibly invest for the next couple of weeks. At the same time, Reliance Industries, I think, would be one of the major gainers going ahead, again, as far as the gas pricing also is concerned. So I think Reliance Industries at these levels, could be bought from a longer term perspective. We still have a price target of about 11.25, 11.50 for that stock.
Right, Ambareesh, just hold on the thought, just counting down to the market opening, all the signs really indicating to a strong positive start. With a look at the entire Asian pack there, Japanese markets are up by 1%, you've got Shanghai and Kospi also in the positive territory, and that's not just today. We saw all of these markets which were trading yesterday while we were not, also register a very strong rally. Take a look at what's happening to crude, that's where the easing off is coming in. Brent is now again at 112 and a little over that. So that's as far as the agenda and the situation is looking like. Priyank, looks like we are going to have an extremely strong opening.
Oh yes, just a couple of seconds left. Remember, the stocks that you want to keep your eyes out on range from the telecom sector on the back of those TRA recommendations that we picked up yesterday. A couple of them are on the index as well, so keep an eye on that. The banking stocks and the oil and gas majors, all of them in focus, and the opening move, as expected from the pre-open, is higher. 220 points uptick straight away on the Sensex is what we've actually picked up. And look at the screen. It's a happy start to this week itself. The screen, all the components on the Sensex are in positive territory. Let's start out with some of the big movers. Bharti at a 3.5% gain on the back of those TRA recommendations that we picked up yesterday. So a cut as far as the spectrum price is concerned, really being cheered to a certain extent. Reliance Industries 1.6%. ONGC had a decent run up on Friday. It's holding on to gains of almost 1%, so the momentum stays as far as that count is concerned. Take a look at ITC and HUL, both of them are in positive as well. 3% gain as far as ITC is concerned, and you're talking about a 1.5% gain almost on HUL as well. Couple of auto majors that are on the move. Hero Moto up by 1%, Bajaj Auto is holding on to gain of 1% as well. And take a look at Maruti, that one's up 1.4%. Tata Motors extremely strong, 2.2% gain coming in as far as that stock is concerned. What's losing out is only TCS right now, almost 1% lower. Is the only counter that's actually in negative territory, because you have Wipro that's holding on to gains of 3%, and Infosys is also relatively stable at around about 1.2%. Let's pull up what kind of performance we're picking up on the Nifty as well. Just get that for you. The index is back at 5,800 is where we've landed on. Look at that, 124-point rally, extremely strong performance, and Nifty has clawed back all the way to 5,800. 49 stocks gaining, just one odd stock losing out. Let's run you through those 49 stocks, or other top gainers on the index, and where the outperformance is coming from. Axis Bank, another 6% up move today. The banking stocks clearly supporting this rally. IndusInd Bank 5% up move. HDFC another 5% gain on that one. Take a look at Bharti on the Nifty, it's up around about 4.5% is what we are actually looking at. JP Associate 3.7% gain coming in. It's only ONGC and BPCL that are actually losing out. So the oil and gas majors there just turning a little bit weak is what we are actually looking at. Running through some more gainers as far as the index is concerned, and get a couple of more names going in terms of the kind of performance that we're picking up right now. BOB, DLF, JSPL, HDFC Bank, all gaining anywhere between 3 to 3.5%. Kanvi, it's been an extremely strong opening, and we know the fact that the kind of up move that we've seen on the currency also lending some support.
Absolutely, Priyank. It is all about the cool off in oil and the strength coming into the Indian currency. Even if you look at your mid caps and some of the other companies, all of them are up and about in the green. Your Jayaprakash Associates as well as JP Power, both of those stocks are trading extremely strong this morning. From the pharma pack, you've got stocks like Jubilant Life, which is up by almost 7% this morning. Wipro Defense is another stock which is trading strongly, above 5%. We of course took a look at the bigger stocks like Bharti and ID on the back of the telecom news. Tata Teleservices is also up by 5%. Interestingly, most of these companies or stocks don't seem to be reading into the overhang that comes along with those spectrum announcements. So Priyanka, it's looking like a good start all across the board, even in terms of your other bank stocks, the smaller ones too.
Totally. In fact, it's been a decent up move supported by various factors. The banking pack once again coming back to life, and you've seen that huge amount of rally. In fact, let's put up the Bank Nifty as well, and a quick mention on that one, because the individual stocks are showing good amount of up move. Just take a quick check on the level as far as the Bank Nifty is concerned there. It's back above 10,000 is what we were actually looking at, up around about 3.3%. Ambareesh, we were discussing about the outlook for the markets, but the momentum just continues to stay on. Another 2% gain coming in for the Nifty this morning. How much of the negatives are being factored in out here, and what are some of the key events to now watch out?
I think clearly hopes are building up, like I said, and the hopes are clearly on the monetary policy on the 20th. So till then, possibly we could have the market just about holding up. But we should remember that whatever events happen, the markets really react very sharply, and that volatility is there to stay. And the way things are, I really don't see this as a start of a new bull run, and I see that peaking out sooner than later. Like I said earlier, possibly 150 points more from here, and we've already seen 100 points this morning. So I really don't see too much more of an upside. I think we could have, profit booking coming in, possibly if the market moves up another 50, 60 points more from here, we could see some profit booking at that point of time, because we should remember that the markets have moved up from those close to 50 to 100 levels to the current levels, which is a decent 600-point rally.
Right. So in such a scenario, then when you're only seeing an upside of 150 points, or what should be the specific sectors where you could see more buying opportunities?
I don't see any buying opportunities at this point of time. Like I said, since I'm cautious on the way the markets would move going ahead, I would surely, suggest booking out to a certain extent, and especially book out from those fundamentally weak sectors, we had discussed about banks, where we saw extremely good rally because of whatever announcements came from Raghuram Rajan. I think because of which we saw this good move in banks. I think you just utilize this rally to exit to a certain extent, because the fundamental issues still continue.
What about the auto space, Ambareesh? How are you positioned on that one?
Auto space, again, I really don't see the monthly numbers improving in a big way, at least in the near future. If you're talking of the next 3 to 4 months, I don't see those numbers really improving. We could see some bump up because of the festive season, which is normally the case every year. So I don't think that will really bump up most of the auto stocks, which, even at these levels, I'm finding it slightly expensive. So in fact, in case we see a move of possibly at the 4-5% in say a Maruti or even a Tata Motors, I think utilize that to book out to a certain extent.
Ambareesh, what's happening with Coal India? Is close to its true price now? Is it just the overhang of the next public offer, or is there more larger concerns regarding the company itself?
I think it's more of that overhang of the offer, because of which it is quoting at these levels. But then I think if you're talking of longer term, I think it's a good buying opportunity as far as Coal India is concerned, because clearly, the coal prices are bound to move up. Energy prices are moving up, so there is no way the coal prices can remain where they are. And if you look at the past couple of years, we have been seeing a hike of about 6 to 7% every year. So I think this downside which you have seen in Coal India should be utilized to buy.
Just a quick mention on some of the active mid caps that we're tracking this morning. It's once again Shipping Corp. Volumes aren't too bad for that counter. 6% high is what we're actually looking like as far as that stock's concerned. J&K Bank holding on to gains as well. Jaiprakash Power is up by around about 10%. The entire group companies for the JP group actually seeing some decent amount of up move today. Tata Tele up around about 4%. FTIL has actually started the day on a positive note, 4.3%. Just pull up MCX India along with that and get a quick mention on that one's actually trading as well. MCX on the other hand is down 3.5%. That's a rare situation where FTL is up and you have MCX actually in the negative. Nonetheless, some more stocks that are on the radar this morning. You have some of the other stocks like Nerolac Paints, that's down around about 3.2%. Info Edge also in the negative territory is what we're actually looking at. Ashok Leyland holding on to gains around about 2.3%. So let's keep an eye on that one. Hindalco's trading up by around about 1%. Couple of telecom stocks are pretty much on the radar is what we're looking at. Take a look at that. Arcom, all these counters are seeing a decent amount of up move is what we're actually seeing. Idea, Bharti, all of them seeing a decent run up. And the reason has been predominantly what came in from TRAI yesterday. In fact, Harit Shah from Angel Broking is on the phone line with us right now. Harit, let's get a quick check going as to what you made of all those announcements coming in from TRAI.
Yeah, just to clarify, actually, I'm with Nirmal Bang Institutional Equities.
Sure, sorry for that.
Yeah, sure. No, so as far as the recommendations are concerned, clearly it's a positive, I think, for the industry, which has been clamoring for lower reserve prices for quite some time now. And, last couple of auctions have been, quite abject failures. So, so it hasn't got any real substantial revenue to the government, which is another proof of, the fact that given the fact that they have so much high debt on their books and inability to bid for spectrum at such high prices. I think clearly this is in that context a very good thing, and I think you may now see some more participation in subsequent auctions that the government will hold. Another good thing, of course, is the recommendation, I think, to make it very transparent, by the government, to show how much spectrum they do have to auction in all subsequent, spectrum auctions. And, I think that will clearly give, industry players a good idea of the supply of spectrum, and consequently they will be able to obviously formulate their strategies more effectively. So I think overall this is definitely a step in the right direction, I would say.
Harit, but what about the fact that as far as the 900 megahertz is concerned, they are not going to allow you to retain any part of it. So all of these companies like Bharti and Vodafone, the licenses are up for renewal very soon. Though there are litigations on, it could mean that all of it will be refarmed, and that's an additional overhang as far as their entire capital situation is concerned.
Yeah, see, I think first of all, as we, I guess overall we should, just take note that this is just a recommendation. Eventually, it is up to the government to obviously take a final call. Having said that, clearly, this, the lack of reservation of 900 megahertz for incumbents is definitely going to obviously, you could say it's a negative, but I think that is more than alleviated on account of the fact that even if they have to bid for the spectrum to win their spectrum back that they hold in the 900 megahertz band, at least the prices at which they will have to rebid are a lot more affordable than what they would have been, than what they were earlier. Than what, assuming that the government does finally accept these kind of recommendations that the TRA has proposed. So I think that that is a concern which can be managed now. The biggest issue has always been that of the extremely high and unaffordable reserve prices. So that with that having been addressed to a large extent, at least we can expect that definitely they will bid for their spectrum for 900 megahertz again, as and when the auction comes up, and they'll be able to do so at a much more affordable price.
Harit, very quickly then, the 3% spectrum usage charge, do you see that impacting their outflow to the government in significant terms?
So obviously this spectrum usage charge also, I think that is, I believe that's also positive, because currently based on the amount of spectrum that telecom companies hold, they pay between 3 to 8%.
Yeah.
So definitely a flat 3% charge is most certainly a welcome move for the industry.
All right, Harit, very quickly, buy calls, anything in the telecom sector right now?
Yeah, so we do have a positive. We recently had turned positive on sector on account of partly an improving regulatory environment, and it does seem as if that at this point has been starting to play out a little bit. So yeah, we have a buy rating on Idea, and Bharti also we have around a 370 rupees target.
Right. All right, Harit. Thanks for taking that quick call today. That's the view coming in from Nirmal Bank equities out there as to how they're positioned on the telecom space. Been a decent start. You're talking for 2% gain, still holding on to that. It's a wrap on First Trades right now. Stay tuned. In Business coming up next in just 2 minutes.